What if I told you that an Indian animated movie almost made the Oscars list? And no, it's not Roadside Romeo. Let's go back to 2012. The world hadn't ended, US wasn't being ruled by a Disney character, and we got India's best animated movie.
भीषण है उन्माद के थोड़े आए पूरे पांच कभी ना दिखे हस्तिनापुर में ना दिखे हस्तिनापुर में.
As the title suggests, Arjun the Warrior Prince follows Arjun from Mahabharata. Now, I know what you're thinking. Great, another movie based on Indian mythology. And I get where you're coming from. Out of the only 70 animated movies we have had, 40 have been based on mythology, and less than 8 have had an original script. But this movie was so much more and so much better.
First of all, they believe this bullshit, right? That mythology is done to death, because it really hasn't. Look at the product out there, right? What they do when they take the subject matters, they turn it into parody. So they convert, they'll take Krishna, who's got a great political, amazing story of a life of a man who was disenfranchised, he became a god. Now just think of that as a storyline track. It's amazing. But then they'll turn him into this butter-eating little moron, episode after episode, and that's all they do. Because this nut cut, whatever. And that's where it stops and starts. Keep doing that, then it's not going to go anywhere. But if you get into the stories, even that as you've heard as a child, and just treat them for what they are, you've got fantastic stuff. And just like you said, to rival Japan or anywhere else in the world.
Arjun the Warrior Prince was produced by UTV Movies and directed by Arnab Chaudhary. After the movie was released on 25th May, Disney not only acquired the rights to the movie but also held a week-long run of the movie in United States to qualify it for the Oscars. Now, this is very rare for a company like Disney to do, considering this movie didn't have any kind of push behind it. Sadly, the movie did not qualify based on a technicality. Even if it had been nominated, it probably wouldn't have won, considering all the other nominations. But it would have given such a boost to the Indian animation industry. But even without getting nominated, this movie did achieve a lot of other things that no other Indian animated movie has ever done. Arjun the Warrior Prince is also the only Indian animated feature to be showcased at Pixar Studios, and that too by John Lasseter himself, the man behind some of the most influential animated movies of all time. His movies having grossed over $19 billion. And you have made a good movie when a man like John thanks you for making a movie. Now let's talk a bit about the movie itself. The movie follows the story of Arjun, one of the most important figures in the story of Mahabharata. We get to know about Arjun through a maid who is telling his story to the young prince of Virat. Now, this movie does take a lot of liberties with the story of Arjun, and in this case, it's for the better, considering the runtime they had to work with. This is also one of the biggest drawbacks of the movie. The movie assumes that the audience is already familiar with the story of Mahabharata. It leaves out a lot of the basics, which can and does annihilate a lot of foreign audience. And this needs to be resolved if our stories are to be taken seriously on a global scale. It's very obvious how much Arnab is inspired by Western media. Hell, he even made a Tom and Jerry short, and you can see that inspiration in every frame. The best thing about the movie is that it's not boring and plain looking like a lot of other Indian animated movies. The movie uses this cel-shaded kind of look, similar to Borderlands, where the shadows are permanently drawn on the characters, and it really works for the art style that this movie is going for. The character designs are also handled perfectly. Every time Bhishma is on screen, you can feel the authority and the respect. One of my favorite scenes being when Arjun realizes what he has to do as a warrior, and you can see the moral dilemma on his face. Now, this might not be very special for a lot of Western audience, but every part of this movie is a highlight for the Indian animation industry. You can also see a lot of other influences too, from certain camera moves and angles, One of the most evident being the framing, to show a character larger than life or to show when a character is overpowering another. Again, this kind of visual storytelling is very rare in the Indian animation industry. Now, the fight scenes and actual animation might not be Madhouse level, but it is certainly better than whatever this is. By the way, this movie was made on a budget 7 times that of Arjun and released 1 year later. Every scene of this movie has been animated with such love and care, the highlights being the opening credits training montage or easily the best scene in the movie, good enough to rival the Ramayana anime. It's weird when a movie with stage and TV actors has miles better voice acting than a movie with some of India's biggest stars. But well, such is the case when you are only in it for a paycheck. Again, this kind of voice acting is rarely seen in Indian animation, especially the voice actors for Arjun and Duryodhan, who have the most lines in the movie.
पिताश्री, अगर राज्य पर किसी का अधिकार होता है तो वो राजा के पुत्र का। आप हस्तिनापुर के राजा हैं और मैं आपका पुत्र। यही सत्य है और यही नियम है।
Also, Vishnu Sharma is easily the best Bhishma Pitama.
तुम राजा हो गए अपने राज्य में, यहाँ सेना नायक मैं हूँ और दुर्भाग्यवश मुझे तुम्हारी रक्षा करनी है। भूल के भी मेरे आदेश के बीच में मत आना, समझे? चक्रव्यूह बनाओ।
The soundtrack of a movie can easily make or break that movie, especially in Bollywood. And this movie definitely delivers. There are mainly 6 tracks in the movie, and these tracks have been composed by some of India's biggest heavy hitters, people who have given us some of the most memorable songs of the last 2 decades. You got Vishal Shekhar, Sunidhi and Shreya, Piyush Mishra, Shankar Mahadevan, and Sukhwinder Singh. This is the dream team for any animated movie, and these people definitely bring their A game. You got the sweet and charming intro song. The slow, dramatic action song. The somber trance-like melody.
समय तो चलता आगे के कौआ मोती चाबे के हंस अकेला भागे क्यों भला।
And my personal favorite, the best song Arjun could have asked for, sung by Sukhwinder himself.
धर्म की तलवार लेके धर्म की ललकार लेके एक योगी था वो योगी.
So, now you got India's best animation. paired with some excellent voice acting and one of the most memorable soundtracks. This obviously seems like the recipe for success. Sadly, officially, the movie was a box office flop. The movie was made on a budget of only $1 million and it made back less than 400,000. By the way, this is the same year when a movie like Ras 3 made back $14 million. Everything was stacked against this movie. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. An American reviewer even called Arjun a knockoff version of Tarzan. But even with all that, there were people who saw the potential. Meet Jerry Beck. He's an American animation historian. He's also the person who brought anime like Akira and Howl's Moving Castle to United States. And he's the founder of Cartoon Network's advisory board. When he found out about the movie, he decided to check it out for himself. And this is what he had to say. The film is spectacular on a visual level. Many scenes were breathtakingly beautiful. I have to admit, it's really something to be seen on the big screen. There is so much detail in the background art, it will be lost on a small screen. The bottom line, this is not a piece of trash. It's a worthy possibility for a nomination. I look forward to seeing what this studio will do next. Sadly, no one got to see. Arnav never got the chance to direct another feature film after Arjun. He had a sequel in mind. He even had a trilogy planned around Arjun. But after the reception of Arjun the Warrior Prince, the studio didn't give him another chance. And now he will never get the chance to do so. You see, Arnav passed away last year on 25th December. And India lost one of its best animators, one of its best directors. India has always had a problem with realizing its talents a little too late. He never got the praise that he deserved in India. People realized his talents elsewhere. He was appreciated for that, but not in India. Not at the scale that he should have. And that's how it always goes. Indian animation industry didn't just die. It was murdered. It was murdered for the greed and for the profit. Channels like Pogo are pushing out shit content day after day in name of children's content, which is basically mindless garbage. Which is quite ironic considering Arnav was one of the people who helped start Pogo. And if you look back at older Pogo from 2005-2006, it had good shows. But now, animation industry, at least in India, has turned into a machine. A machine to produce the least effort content to provide the maximum profit. And Arnav, for everything that he did for the Indian animation industry, for all his passion and all his hard work. Not even a Wikipedia page to his name. The worst part about all this is, when we have the potential, we have the talent and we have the resources. What we don't have are people willing to back people like Arnav up.
We've got, because we do so much Hollywood work, Here, our studios here are doing stuff for Pixar, we're doing stuff for DreamWorks, we're doing stuff for studios all over the world. So we have the technical ability, we have the skill sets to execute, right? Problem is, we can't afford to make product for ourselves in those same parameters, right? Because we can do the $250 million animation film, and we can do it, but you cannot make a $250 million animation film for India, because you're not going to even make that much of it back. So for India, you'll make a $2 billion animation film, which is not going to be in the same,
Indian animation industry is nothing but a joke at this point. All these YouTubers, making fun about how boring our movies are, how predictable the storylines are, how bad our animation is. It's always easier, it's always more profitable to make fun of those things than encourage the actual good stuff that's been happening. All the Indian animation YouTubers crying about how India has such bad animation. None of them have ever mentioned, ever talked about this movie. No one has. Because it's not trendy, because it will not get views probably, because it's not something that people watched. People want their thoughts confirmed when they say that yeah, Indian animation industry is bad. It's probably the worst out there. And when they get views with that, they always follow that. There are currently 4 animated movies announced, and they are as bad as you would expect. So the only conclusion that it leads us to is that Indian animation industry is dead and buried with no signs of hope. Or that is how I would have ended the video a few weeks ago. But you see, there is hope.
হোয়াট? এত বছর বাদে সেই পুরনো কেসটা? আই ডোন্ট বিলিভ ইট। ঠিক আছে, আমি পৌঁছে যাচ্ছি।
তোমার অতীত টেনে এনে আর মনে আঘাত দিচ্ছি না, তবে এই ব্যাপারে যদি সাহায্য চাও কিছু লোকের সন্ধান দিতে পারি।
না না, তোর একটু বেশি ভেবে ফেলছি। Must be a stalker. So sick. Scarecrow.
What you just saw was India's first ever original anime, being made not by these phony ass companies, but by these passionate people. Just a group of friends who are out there to make a difference. And people like these are carrying on the legacy that people like Arnab left us. And who knows, India might have its own Death Note or Your Name in the next few years. The next Miyazaki or Arnab could be among these people. And to all these people, everyone who's working on their passion, who's working on their dream, keeping it alive, no matter the consequences, no matter the circumstances, I think Krishan said it best.
कर्म करो, जय और पराजय का विचार छोड़ के कर्तव्य पर ध्यान दो, डर अपने आप दूर हो जाएगा.
And to all those people who left us with so much more to give, who wanted to give us so much more, we will not forget. We will never forget. If it weren't for Arnab, I never would have had my passion for animation. If it weren't for people like Irfan, I never would have had my love for the movies and TV shows. They always say in the entertainment industry to leave the people wanting more. And these people did. And all I can say is thank you for everything you did.
It's a piece of philosophy. As animators, we stay young till the end of our lives, because when you're working on something, we break it down to the microsecond, right? So for me, a minute can last up to 6 months, right? So as a result, because my time every day is exactly the same, the way I spend my day, except it's just a little bit different, I'll live a very long time.